And now the question, do you hear me? I know I'm visible. Now we're checking if I'm audible. If somebody can please drop me a line if you can hear me. Let me ask it in the chat to Rebecca. Hi guys, thank you for putting all the likes. It's a great pleasure. Now, okay, so everybody can hear me and I'm visible and audible. We can hear you in Central Europe. Excellent. Thank you very much. It's where I feel very good at home in Central Europe. So first of all, everyone, hello, and thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. I understand that, again, we have created some controversy. Yes, that happens once in a while. And when we will go to space. If you let me do the introduction and hold your questions for a short while, there is a better chance for me to answer them because chronologically the questions keep rolling up the list and I cannot scroll them back. So actually, if you have more specific questions, please let me say a few words first and hold your question for a few minutes. So I realized that the reason we organized this talk is to address the controversy which was created by the recent progress. And I first will explain a few things and then I will take the question. And Rebecca is online helping me to make sure we don't miss anything and that we address everything properly. So thank you, Rebecca and Jason and Nikari. I will start by saying a thing which might sound amusing or a bit trivial, but bear with me. Remember Christopher Columbus? He, in the 16th century, sailed off to India. And remember where he arrived? He arrived in America. Was it a bad thing for humankind? I don't think so, and I'm sure you'd agree with me. Imagine if there was Facebook at the time and he was followed by people who watch him to make the wrong moves. I think I made my point. Now I'll go to specifics. I will start by using questions which were addressed in the posts which were published. So I have, sorry for looking away, I have two screens in front of me to make sure that I don't lose the connection. So if I look away, it's because I'm reading questions on the other screen. So in the announcement of this talk, it has been asked, apart from few good thoughts which were expressed, for which I thank you, everyone who has good thoughts to share very, very much. Believe it, it makes a huge difference to hear that people appreciate Asgardia and what we are doing. So there has been a question that people are looking forward to receiving an opportunity to do research in space, even though they don't particularly get support in their own country. I can reaffirm that Asgardia is open to create a platform for every scientist who wants to collaborate and operate within the scope of Asgardia and proposes valid research. Asgardia is intending to support this research. We stand by this statement, which was made from the very beginning. Space excuse me, space is for everyone, and opportunities to reach out to space should be available to everyone, and we will be working towards this. Another question which was addressed in the announcements, no one seems to be able to do so, who is responsible for the extending the periods, who is changing the decisions earlier announced. Dr. Igor Shurbeli adjusts the course of action as we progress. We are treading on the unknown grounds. We are building the first ever in human history space nation, as you all know. So we are doing our best and we are adapting as we go along. So whatever you see implemented and communicated to you through the forums of the Asgardia.space website and then distributed through Facebook, this is all authorized or instructed by Dr. Ashurbeli. I hope this is cleared once and for all. A question which occurs very frequently, also I hope this is answered once and for all: how are we counting votes? We will publish texts about this to be sure there is no misunderstanding, but people keep asking it in discussions, so I will say it verbally now. When one enters the website and registers, is just a registered user. When one enters the voting page, so it's the next level of entrance, you have to click a particular tab to get there. That person is counted as one who took part in the voting. And after that, even if after 1 second that person leaves without voting, that is counted as no. And by the way, this is a big liberty on our side to give this 1 second as just having participated and not voting. We are familiar with the systems from various countries. We studied that in detail before launching the online campaign. And we have found that in the legislation of many countries, such period for electronic voting is at least 15 seconds. So once again, every person who has entered for even 1 second the page where voting is possible, and then left the page without voting, that person is counted as having voted no. So once the voting is closed, there will be a number published of how many people in total have entered uniquely the voting page. I anticipate the question, how do you register the users? So again, the answer is very simple. Only registered users are able to get as far as the voting. So we count it not on the IP addresses, we count it only on the registered addresses of the users. So if somebody is registered as an Asgardian, but enters as a registered Asgardian 3 times, enters and goes, enters and goes, enters and goes, of course that person is counted only once. But it has nothing to do with IP addresses. I've seen this discussion somewhere, also in the debates on Facebook. So I really hope this is cleared once and for all. Now, question, where else do I have questions? Excuse me just for 1 second. I'm making sure to scroll through everything which has been written. There have been a question, now the question about the date and the number, 100,000. There is a twofold reason. First of all, somebody, again, in discussions assumed that the 100,000 is a magic number which entitles you to something in United Nations. This is absolutely not the case. There is no such organization in the world which can appoint anybody to be a country or a state. It's a natural progress. I believe we have discussed it already in our last live talk. It's what the State of Israel did. They started by the nation of Israelis creating the togetherness and searching mutual recognition with the other states. And eventually it led up to being recognized by international organizations, including United Nations. We in Asgardia are doing the same. We are working towards being recognized as other countries. And honestly, think about it. Is it 89,000 or 91,000 or 100,000? It does not make any difference at this point. The order of magnitude is clear. Some tens of thousands of people worldwide decided to be Asgardian and found that the constitution, the way it's written, is resonating with them. And yes, we are the first to recognize that it might be imperfect. Dr. Ashurbeli, in his press conference in Hong Kong, himself stated that he is fully aware that there might be things which need improving. But the Constitution itself installs the civil process, and in this process, citizens can put forward the petitions, including petitions for calling a referendum, proposing specific changes. The rules for the petitions to be formulated and accepted are published online at asgardia.space. The only thing we're asking is give us few more days until the constitution is finalized and voting is closed, and only after that start sending your suggestions to update constitution, to create petitions with your proposals, simply because until the first constitution is not there, you do not have an opportunity to submit the petition, because there is nothing official to submit. So actually everybody needs the first constitution to be accepted in order for us to do our job, to start forming the parliament and selecting the government. And for you as guardians, you need this constitution in order to be able to exercise your citizens' right, offering petitions, including the petition to update certain thing in the constitution, which then will be put forward to the referendum after the proposal has collected enough votes and goes through the parliament. So 100,000, first of all, it's a beautiful number. Like a couple of days here or a couple of days there, honestly, they do not make a difference. 90,000 or 100,000, honestly, doesn't make a difference. We all understand where we stand. Our numbers are published, they are online, and this is what is there. The other reason is Asgardia satellite. The reason we are closing the file reception are technical. The current launch on the Cygnus vehicle is scheduled and announced for the 12th of September. But as we have discussed on a number of occasions, space business is an experimental business, and there is a very good chance that the launch will slip to the right. It might slip to October, it might slip later. There are sometimes chances that it moves forward, it's less likely, but this is business as usual in the space business. But we are working to make sure that Asgardia 1 satellite is ready for integration, assuming the launch takes place on the 12th of September. This means that the fully integrated satellite must go from NanoRex to NASA in the coming 2 weeks. And before that, it means that the hard disk with our data, or all your data and Asgardia data, must be integrated, put into door, tested that it will wake up in orbit, and it needs to be built into the satellite and shipped to NASA. So after that, there will be no chance in the world, in the lifetime, to launch whatever you choose to post there into the satellite, which will take off in a rocket from the ground and enter physically into space. And only citizens, only those who support the Constitution have this right. So one of the reasons we extended the vote is that more people can enjoy this opportunity. There is still memory available on the satellites, and it's only possible for the next 2 or 3 days, for technical reasons, for people to upload their files. So we wholeheartedly hope that people exercise this right. It's a unique thing to do. Afterwards, it will be only after the satellite is deployed in orbit, and that will be a couple of months after the launch. So when the Cygnus vehicle has done its work with the ISS, dedocked, flew further, deployed the satellite, only then, once the satellite wakes up from the dormant mode in space, it will start communicating with the ground. And then you will be able either to update, exchange the existing files, or the new citizens who would have joined by then would still have probably some opportunity for the upload. But just like now, before the voting closes, you just upload and it's done. It will never happen again. And it will never again, for the first time in history, physically take off from Earth. So we want this opportunity to be available to as many people as possible, simply because it's a great opportunity. Rebecca is telling me that there are a lot of questions about passport and IDs. So IDs. We are working on creating the parliament, creating the government, and creating the banking system and the currency, national currency, solar, as you know, by having read the Constitution. So ID card at this point is the card which will be a fully protected with chip integrated card, which would allow eventually, when they're available, no illusions there, to receive services which Asgardia will provide, and eventually to operate within the currency system. Passports, again, it will be much later. We will start issuing passports as booklets for traveling only when we have reached the recognition with the states, other states, that they recognize Asgardia passport as a valid document for crossing national borders. We are very realistic. This is a long-term goal. But again, remember where I started. Columbus took off to India and arrived in America. And looking back, it was not such a bad thing. So IDs and passports would only be received in person. We are now asking everyone, and it's at your own discretion, to fill in the data in your profile. This data needs to be correct, as in when you decide to claim your documents, you would be asked to present yourself to the ambassador of Asgardia or consul or national representative. I don't know yet what he or she would be called. So documents are taken very seriously. We don't know yet how we might organize some tour into different countries, maybe on certain weeks, representatives will be available. It all needs doing. We are creating it from scratch. In the long run, it is planned to have 6 permanent embassies around the world per number of continents. Remember, we discussed that one of the biggest premises of Asgardia is that there are no borders. When one looks at the Earth from space, you do not see borders. You see blue, you see green, you see yellow of the desert. You do not see borders. Borders exist on the maps and in human minds. So it is also for that reason that only boundaries of the continents are visible from space. There will be 6 embassies per continent in Asgardia, but we will be working to create local representations and, of course, do our best to help people to sustain their interaction with us. Let me read more of what is being asked me. Yes, people, why are we mirroring government processes? We are not mirroring anything. We are not reinventing the wheel. Again, maybe some things would turn out to be not so perfect. I cannot exclude it at all. We are all humans. We're doing our best. Like all humans, we are imperfect. So we are not mirroring anybody's processes. We are looking at the best practices and the best experiences and the best achievements which we could find worldwide. We integrate them to the best of our understanding. It's all done under direct leadership and guidance and supervision of Dr. Ashurbeli. And, well, that's basically it. We're doing our best to assemble what, to our mind and our best judgment, will serve most efficiently to achieve the goals which are declared for Asgardia from day one. Requests for extension. There have been some emails complaining about the quality. We have some failures of our website. We have had some emails addressed to citizenship. I have received some chats from Facebook people. So they're counted in tens. They're not counted in thousands. I'm not going to exaggerate. But we're also realistic that some people speak only basic English. And we are very realistic that we are asking a level of interaction which requires more than basic English. So that has been addressed from some people who have written to us, where English is not the first language. There has been addressed the issues of failures of the website and difficulties with logging in. So this is all a consideration. It's not the reason. The reason is integrate, and it's made of multiple elements, and I have already addressed pretty much most of them. Voters at 100,000, we will close the voting as it is happening right now. Again, like I said, it's a nice thing to leave as a legacy. Imagine you all, think about it for a second. You all are going to be part of this legacy. First 100,000 people who are supporting the constitution of the first in world history space nation. How does that sound? To me personally, it sounds quite cool. And I'm in space business personally since 1993. And not many things when it comes to space impress me, honestly. And this is still cool. So about the, sorry, I didn't finish that one. So what happens to people? What happens to people who support the constitution, and what happens to people who are registered but they left without voting? It's the same. Like there is a saying, don't confuse tourism and immigration. When you want to become a citizen of a country, whatever is that country, it's irrelevant now. We're taking an average country. It's normal that if you are asking, you know, when in Rome, do like Romans do, if you like a country, if you want to live there, if you want to be part of that system, it's only natural that you abide by the established regulations in that country. And in most countries, that would be in constitution. So that allows everybody who in this first, only in history, voting period, is supporting the constitution to get this beneficial right that the moment the citizenship is available, administratively available, politically available, these first 100,000 people have the right to claim their citizenship just by saying, this is my voting number, and our system knows it all. When you have voted, you would have received a number saying that your number under which you have voted for constitution is such and such. It's all logged in the system. So anybody under first 100,000 will have the right and is welcome to exercise this right to get this citizenship for free, simply by collecting, providing full data about themselves and claiming their documents. That's it. After the first 100,000 is done, the voting will continue, as in every new person who is applying has to provide certain amount of data about himself or herself, and then has to vote or not to vote for the constitution. By doing so, the person either says, I'm interested in becoming a citizen, or a person says, I'm visiting your Asgardia nation as a tourist. Imagine you are going on holidays to America. You are welcome to go wherever you can possibly get, spend your time in Disney World, go to Las Vegas, do whatever is legal in the country. But it does not give you the right to get a job or to open a business or to participate in the elections, even as a voter. It's exactly the same thing. If one wants to be a citizen of, when we're able to grant citizenship as in traveling and providing documents, but already now, if one wants to be a candidate for a leadership position, if one wants to be a candidate to parliament, if one wants to receive grants, because we hope reasonably soon we would be able to announce grants for research activities. We will be offering to register businesses in jurisdiction of Asgardia, and we will be supporting them. All those benefits are available to citizens in pretty much any civilized country. It does not prevent tourists who pass by this country to visit the shows, cinemas, circus, restaurant, Disneyland, walk through the fields and the woods, and engage in any activity legal in that country. So everybody who is interested to be in the neighborhood, to be a friend of Asgardia, is very welcome to remain a friend of Asgardia, visiting, staying, getting involved in all activities available for tourists. Citizens are those who support the constitution, the basic makeup of the country. So we consider those who have voted for the constitution citizens, as in when, for example, a referendum was happening, whatever might be the subject, these people are entitled to vote. As far as we are concerned, they have declared that they are supporting Asgardia, so their vote counts when decisions are to be made. But again, about dual citizenship, we as Asgardia claim that we are not interfering with any earthly citizenship. So we cannot now give you any answers about what your country might say, but the fact that we consider you citizens does not obligate you to do anything. You are not obliged to collect your ID card. You're not obliged to collect your passport. It's your right. And as far as participation in decision making, this is your right because you accepted the Constitution of Asgardia. So this is the difference between voted and became a citizen versus didn't vote but decided to stay around. Everyone who has identified himself is welcome to stay around, but non-citizens do not participate in the referendum elections. That's very simple. Let me see. Thank you, Rebecca, for summarizing the questions, because I see, guys, that you are writing, but unfortunately I cannot myself read that fast and keep talking. People with criminal records. We will be, of course, checking by Interpol records, people who have criminal past but who serve the term, who have cleared, who as of today are on good standing with their own legal system. As far as we are concerned, are not criminals. It's not for us to judge people who have been considered innocent of having served their term. We're not judging people for their past. But of course, if somebody is in prison right now or is being under hearing in court case right now, we're not going to interfere into the earthly jurisdiction of what's happening. And we do not stand any terrorist activities or whatever was this you're asking me. We will do our due diligence, which is based, of course, on common sense and best practices. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust the screen. It's shaking for some reason. My apologies. Status update on solar. It's a little bit too premature. All I can say now is please be assured we have top mathematicians on our team who are working on this. As soon as there is anything to say about it, there will be announcements. I'm sure Dr. Shurbeli might decide to hold a conference about it because it's a huge thing. So please be sure you will not miss the news. We will be screaming about it on every corner. What are the future plans of Asgardia besides launching the satellite? So it's in the general philosophy of Asgardia and in the makeup of Asgardia to start by launching the first satellite. And this is just to symbolically place the nation into space. After that, there will be a launch of a group of satellites which will be testing some interaction modes between themselves. So the technical intention is the progressive evolution of the tasks which satellites perform, and at the same time developing the opportunity to use satellites as research platform. I think you might actually find it interesting to read the frequently asked questions section on our website, asgardia.space. This section has been updated quite recently. There is a lot of new information in there, and there is an information about the space segment. So those interested in Beyond Asgardia 1 satellite, please read it. It's actually very well written in very simple, crisp terms. Future judicial system, any details? Judicial system, well, there will be, it's all in the Constitution, guys. It's I'm not going now to open Constitution and read it out loud for everybody. Please refer to the Constitution, the chapter, I don't remember the number out of the top of my head, which defines how the lead judge and the judicial system is formed and operating. Does Asgardia acknowledge any other virtual nations? I'm not aware of what is BitNation. We are open to constructive dialogue to whoever wants to talk sense to us. We are not playing games. We are not going to start just entertaining ourselves by mutual acknowledgements, by if tomorrow 3 people decide that they are a nation. So whoever is serious and wants to talk seriously and has something serious to discuss with us, we are very, very open and transparent. science, being asked about Asgardia science-based, what does this mean? Because it doesn't appear to be so currently. Well, again, it's a chicken and an egg situation. We're open to everyone. And all of you here, whom I'm very glad to talk to today, are probably not most of you in the science business. It is for a reason that when Dr. Shubeli announced Asgardia, he emphasized on then and on numerous occasions afterwards that philosophy is the first element we're addressing when we're talking about Asgardia. Humankind, since old times, is looking into the skies. The name Asgardia is from the title, from the name Asgard, an ancient mythological flying city. Even then, in those days, when people believed in pagan gods, they dreamt not just of a holy land, they dreamt of a holy land in the skies. The idea to travel, the strive for exploration, the desire to reach out further into unknown, it's in human genes, it's in our nature, it's in the core. So philosophy of Asgardia, the reason why this is being done, in any publications we made, you will find it in the concept published on asgardia.space website. It is always about the motivation, the inner human strive to go beyond the known boundaries. Today we are all bound by gravity, and we are going beyond gravity. And this is the core premise, philosophy of space for everyone, humans being able to reach out to everyone. How will the economy of Asgardia be created, built? This is an excellent question. You would see that the site asgardia.com it's there, it's open, but some sections are still under development. We are looking at ways to register businesses in Asgardian jurisdiction. So we're inviting everybody who is seeing their business benefiting from developing through space jurisdictions, through Asgardia. We're inviting people to consider startups which will make best business and economic sense in the jurisdiction in collaboration with Asgardia. We hope soon to be able to publish more structural pieces of information which will help you to submit your proposals. So basically we rely on the startups who themselves see benefits by being part of Asgardia business development. There is much more to discuss in that context about business development. The subject is not mature enough yet to hold a detailed discussion about it, but in a nutshell, that's a major component of it. Young, intellectually stimulating, challenging businesses which make sense in the virtual world, in the jurisdiction of Asgardia, is one of the core components. Roles of community leaders in Asgardia political structure. So by leaders, I believe what is meant is those votings which are currently ongoing for 10, 100,000 and what do we have now published? 10, 100 and 1,000, yeah. So the idea is that, of course, those leaders represent the community they're standing for. The local leaders, the 10 people together, it would be great if people get together, if they get to know each other, if they then form, again, not only friendships, but only some meaningful activities which make sense in the jurisdiction of Asgardia, and also influence the processes, influence the development. Then starting from the level 100, actually on the request of the community, originally the 100 was meant also to be locally regional, but then there's been feedback that people prefer that the 100 is no longer locally limited, so we listened to your feedback and we removed it. So starting from 100, these are the leaders who then will have a saying as representatives towards the higher level of community. It's the same, like when you elect your national representative in your village or in your town or in your region or in your country. You vote for your representatives representing your interest because they are part of certain structural formation, you can say, of the country you live in, and they happen on different levels. Ultimately, there will be people who get 10,000 votes, and then they get serious political weight in the political process of Asgardia, and then they become candidates for parliament. Again, this is an ongoing process. It's in the making. There are some frequently asked questions. They're either published or they are going to be published anytime now. I know the document's been finalized this week. So we will come back to this subject, I promise. I'm fully aware of the fact that there are details still to be clarified. We're working on them. Thank you, everybody, for your enthusiasm and energy participating in this. Thank you for daring to offer yourself, and I encourage everyone to get to know the candidates. People have written brilliant profiles. Please do vote. It's actually the way to make a difference. Support people who share the ideas you believe in. I personally have voted for the candidate of 1,000 level. I'm not going to say who it is, it would be totally unfair. So I'm exercising my civil right to vote. So I encourage that you also go and take your time and read the profile and do vote for the candidates. And security team, army. Security teams and army. The biggest thing is, of course, cybersecurity. As you know, we are all living in virtual world and cyberspace. Again, we have brilliant mathematicians, brilliant IT people on our team, and we are developing our own IT infrastructure from scratch. For that reason, we are responsible for ourselves and we guard it like hell. And you can be sure that will only go stronger and stronger. We are not developing an army, no. Job creation, again, there will be civil jobs. It's an average figure for a country that 1% of the population maybe is taking tasks and discharging necessary activities. There is no firm decision yet. It's just ballpark, common sense answer. Real jobs will, sorry, my screen just went down. Real jobs will be in the startups which you will be creating. We spoke about this earlier. Conferences for Asgardian members to attend. I'm not sure at the moment. I personally will be in Australia, Adelaide, at the end of September, starting like 19th, 20th of September for about 7 days, because there will be International Astronautical Congress there. It's an annual huge gathering of International Astronautics Federation. We will be talking there particularly to the Young Professionals Forum, which is, I'm personally really looking forward to that, and that's my strongest motivation, is because I'm presenting at what they call Space Generation Council. It's the young professional and aerospace business age under 35, and one has to have real achievements to be accepted into that organization. So I personally have high hopes for this event, for this activity, because I believe there are a lot of brilliant people there who might share our values and might want to do also their research and development work in the context of Asgardia. So yes, I will be in Australia. I'm still looking at an opportunity to host an Asgardian gatherings there. At the moment, I cannot commit to doing that. It's also to a large extent up to you guys, because I do have a preliminary agreement with the law faculty of Adelaide University that they will host us, the same like we did in Montreal. The law faculty of McGill University has hosted an event. But it takes more than just to find a location. It also takes somebody locally. I cannot on my own organize an event in a foreign country. So in Montreal it was possible because Luckily for me, Rebecca lives not so far away, and she was able to come and help me, and a couple of more people affiliated with Asgardia helped Rebecca, and that was wonderful, and it's only thanks to them that the event was possible. So in Australia, for the event to happen, like I said, I already have the Dean of Law Faculty at Adelaide University, who has kindly offered to host our event, but also it's up to you as guardians in Adelaide to decide if you can take the commitment to do all the local organization work. And I then, if you decide to do so, I really hope that you stick by your decision and to the commitments, because I cannot afford to ask for it and then to cancel it. You understand, I'm sure. I don't need to explain that we are going around in international gatherings. So we are guests there. What happened in Hong Kong, it was the event we have fully created. So there we had more liberty to do it our way. Here we are just a visiting party to an event which is happening in Adelaide. Dr. Shurbeli personally is not planning any appearances. When he does, we of course will be doing something about it. You will be the first ones to know. We will publish it on the website, and the wonderful moderation team will spread the word all over the network. About searching the website and the map. So look, when you are logged in, I had this problem myself. When you are logged in the map, you are, if you enable location, you see yourself in your area. And naturally, you are shown 100 kilometers. There are 3 arrows on the right from the name of your hometown. So by every click, you make the radius, so the map becomes smaller. Your radius is becoming 100 kilometers more. So first of all, by clicking through these maps, you can zoom out. So you automatically see more people. But also, there will be a button. There is a big upgrade of the website coming. We are developing the website totally ourselves. It's like writing a new opera. I don't mean the browser, I mean the music piece of 5 hours. It needs perfecting. We're realistic, we're aware of this, we have great professionals working on it, and we're receiving comments from the community on the email, which takes care of the website development, and we're doing our best to implement it. It does take time. So this is one of the things which actually I also asked to implement, to add the button which allows you to dissociate from your location. So you are able just then to search by, I believe you have tags, see all, see debutants, see trendsetter, see strategist, and now you see them within your local community. I had exactly the same problem. I officially live in Germany. It's how my appearance comes. It shows me that I'm in Cologne, but actually for me it's a temporary location for personal reasons associated with my husband's job. So I work wherever I plug in. At the moment I'm in Moscow. Sometimes I plug in Austria where our head office is. So it's exactly the same. I had this problem. I didn't want to be associated with Cologne, even though I provided correct details when I filled in my application. So we are installing the button, which will allow you to dissociate from the local pinning of where you are. And it's being made. Again, hang in for a couple of days. Will there be a minimum age to visit the space platform, and what would it cost? Guys, this is a bit far away. Minimum age would be a common sense minimum age. It's for a reason that people are considered minors until certain age. It's because they physically and mentally are not fully formed. And that's not just a personality judgment. This is scientific conclusion of medical and biological professionals. So most likely, there will be a limitation to what is considered to be an adult simply for developmental reasons. It's the same like with parabolic flights at the moment. You know that the only way to experience a lack of gravity, weightlessness on Earth, is to fly in a parabolic flight. Parabolic flight is an airplane which, I believe in America, you can go Online, in America, it's available for tourists. I believe the site is called Go0G, or in any case, if you Google Parabolic Flight for tourists, it will give you the site. Basically, it's Zero G Company, the outlet which provides this service. And in Europe, it's not available commercially, I think, but it is available for research purposes. Still, one has to be above 18 to go on board a plane which will fly parabolas. It's for a reason. People need to be of certain age to undergo certain activities and to remain safe. Parabolic flight is a flight where first it flies up, then it curves on a parabola, and then when it falls down on the other branch of the parabola, those few 25-30 seconds is weightlessness, lack of gravity, because it is free fall, but you're inside the plane, which is in the free fall. That's why it's called parabolic flight. And it is the only way for humans to experience lack of gravity without going beyond Earth's atmosphere. So common sense will be applied. In terms of fees, everything has a price. So when Asgardia is used as a tourist platform, of course, it will have a price to travel like to any tourist destination. But again, we are talking long-term future, which will happen in our lifetime. Dr. Shurbeli said it in Hong Kong, and I would like to repeat it here. He is setting goals which he wants to see through in his lifetime. He has had a lot of scientific and engineering achievements, primarily engineering, in his career, and as an engineer and a systemically thinking person, his personal motivation is to create something which comes to completion, which works. He wants to see results of his work in his lifetime. So he's setting a goal of creating a habitable platform on a low Earth orbit, because this is a goal he's convinced he will see through personally. Plans for providing education at Asgardia. So far, we don't have any firm plans. I'm sorry that this is a short, simple, and disappointing, probably, answer. We do not have, at the moment, an educational program in the making. We didn't simply get to that point. Taxes. As Dr. Shurbeli announced, taxes are voluntary. I've read enough comments on the websites, or rather in discussions on Facebook, that nobody is stupid enough to pay voluntary taxes. No. People, seriously, those who think so, they're wrong. When somebody is motivated to support the cause he's affiliated with, believe me, putting forward, I don't know, $10 per 6 months per month, seriously, if you live in the Western world, in Western standards, is somebody going to say, I'm going to do nothing? It's your right. Formally, there will be no taxes, but free taxes will be encouraged and appreciated. And okay, those who can't afford it, they can't afford it. It's a personal situation. But if a person with normal income decides to pay 10, 20, I don't know, 30 euros a year towards Asgardia, he wouldn't do so, I would find it surprising. But again, it's everybody's personal choice. So my experience of living in the Western Europe and working in the Western world, in my observation, people, where they believe in something and they can support it financially, in my observation, they do. And if Asgardia becoming part of one's life and part of their cause, I expect lots of people will decide to provide some kind of support. If they do, they do, and in my experience, many people do. Businesses which will be working in Asgardian jurisdiction would be running their economic system within Asgardian jurisdiction, and of course within business jurisdiction there will be business taxes, but this is all going to be defined, written, there will be laws developed by the parliament. Until the parliament is in place, we are not going to speculate what does that mean. This is all going to be an ongoing process, like in any parliamentarian activity. I see Earthlink calling us Cuckoo Land. Oh, I see Earthlink calling many people and things Cuckoo Land, and I'm out of decency not going to say what I have been called in my lifetime, and so what, nevertheless. I'm having an interesting life. and I'm very honored that I'm sharing it with so many visionary people who dare to dream despite the fact that life on Earth is not particularly positively exciting this day and age, I am afraid to say. I'm from Colombia. What is important to know about Asgardia? Asgardia is the first in human history space nation, and for the rest, please read the concept on asgardia.space. We've discussed it at length. I will not repeat myself. Professionals need to step up and tell us that they joined us. Guys, everybody is a free person to do what they want. We are certainly not going to speculate on personalities who joined Asgardia. It's everyone's, nobody has to do anything. Like, I'm working for Asgardia, so I have to do certain things. Yeah, other colleagues also have to do certain things. For the rest, everybody is an Asgardian, everybody is equal, everybody has the right to participate in this online discussion or not participate, to take, having voted for the constitution, to take part in the other voting or not to take part. It's everybody's right. So yeah, if there are people who are from aerospace business, and yes, I know some, who decide then eventually to say, I'm with Asgardia, I would be delighted if they decide to do so, but I'm not going to go around my colleagues or former colleagues. I worked in human space flight for many, many, many years, and I know some people who joined. I'm certainly not going to ask anybody, please come and tell the rest that you have joined. It's everybody's personal choice. It's a free society. You choose to spend time today talking with me. I'm really grateful that you take this time. But you came here out of your free choice, and the rest are free to do the same. Would there be a regular podcast released by Asgardia? I don't know. Let's decide together what makes most sense. I will ask Rebecca to summarize this talk to see how many people in total have watched now live, but of course it's night or working hours in half of the world at least. So I will ask Rebecca then after a couple of days also to see the summary, how many people would have watched after this would be published when we finish. And then we see, please discuss it. There is a possibility either further in the comments to this post, or maybe start another discussion and just think for yourself what would make the most sense. Regularity is not the core, because as you see, what we're doing, it comes in intervals. Like August will be a bit slower, the whole world on holidays, especially Italy and Spain. So regularity does not serve any particular purpose. What serves the purpose is when an event happens and we have a chance to talk about it. So clearly the current few days are more exciting than the previous ones, so we're talking about it. After the Hong Kong press conference and the start of the voting, there was an exciting period with a lot of news. We talked about it. This is just the start, and it's a beginning. I'm going to say really a trivial thing. Today is the first day of the rest of our lives. Yes, it's a quote from some Hollywood movie. But let's decide together. I'm available. I'm open. I work wherever I plug in. Rebecca is always available, and she's always available to communicate with Asgardia. They have an email, civic.asgardia, where a community member can send their proposals, and somebody always is reviewing that email from the administrator and moderator team. So set up a post and just brainstorm about it. What would make most sense? My personal opinion is that it makes sense to do it spontaneously when something happens and it's worth talking about it and clearing misunderstandings. I find that a lot of misunderstandings occur because we communicate in writing, and talking makes things much easier. But I also understand that for many people, English language is not their first language or even second language. So it's a shame we exclude them. I hope that the core messages would be translated by the volunteers. But, well, that's all we can offer at the moment. But I also understand that for some people it's more convenient to read than to listen. So we will continue publishing our news. But at the same time, I am available, well, pretty much on a day's notice any time to talk. So when there is a feeling in the community that it is necessary just that I come and talk, well, make sure that Rebecca knows about it. Again, civic.asgardia@asgardia.space, or Rebecca, if I'm saying something wrong now, please, again, make sure people know where to write to the administrators. Please express your opinion in constructive suggestions. It makes a lot of sense when good ideas are put forward. We're doing our best, but we can't invent everything. You have constructive idea, which is practical. Like, I'm sorry, I have to say this. I've seen petitions, let's build a space station. Guys, I'm in human spaceflight business since 1993. It's impossible to build a space station by signing a petition, even if 1,000 people sign it. Trust me, I'm closely involved with the activities performed with the International Space Station from the European Space Agency side, and I'm very familiar with work of NASA. I fully share the passion, and I appreciate that people with these dreams are among us. But I hate to break this to you. It's impossible to build a space station just because 1,000 people signed a petition that let's do that. So please think through what you propose. We want to make things happen. And in order to make them happen, we need to set ambitious but realistic goals. It's like Dr. Ashubeli is saying. He's aiming to build habitable platform in the low Earth orbit because he wants to see it through in his lifetime. And that goal is a long-term vision of Asgardia. We, on the top-level management, administration level, are setting realistic goals of progressively evolving. I know many of you will say that we're progressing and evolving slowly, but again, every step forward we make, it's a solid step. We are one step higher, we are one step ahead, we are one step above. Once we have made this step, we are 100% sure that it's a solid foundation. It is a solid background behind us. So please, when you make a proposal, please think through, if you were to implement it, how would you do that? So please put forward a proposal and a few lines how this can be done. And we really, I promise you, we do our best to consider the proposals. When you write to the email citizens@asgardia.space, my colleague, who is the manager of that position, she is discussing with me when she has doubts what to respond when we receive complicated questions or when we receive proposals. I am informed, I'm personally aware of what is being proposed to the email citizens. Please do not underestimate that you are not heard. It takes us maybe a couple of days to answer, but we do read everything you write to us. So coming back, that was a very, very long answer. Sorry, I didn't mean it to be that long. That was an answer to questions, should we do regular podcasts? I'm available to talk to you pretty much on a one-day notice. Time zone might be uncomfortable because I end up in all sorts of places, but discuss it. I honestly, I can do it once a week, but I might have nothing new to tell in 1 week. If you want, I can make a series of podcasts telling you how to eat in space and how to sleep in space and how to brush your teeth in space. I've written books about human spaceflight. It has nothing to do with my job in Asgardia, but if you guys find it interesting, it's a pleasure. I give lectures on human spaceflight. So if, for example, community wants it as a general popular education to learn more about human spaceflight, it will be my honor and my pleasure to share my knowledge with the Asgardian community. So I would ask Rebecca to post a question that it's for public debate, how to make communication and live interaction. This is the best we can offer as live on a regular basis, and we'll do our best to implement whatever you guys conclude. Would Dr. Ashubeli step down once his term ends? It is the intention of Dr. Ashubeli to serve the first term because he has set up this Asgardia, the space nation. It's the product of his lifetime of work and vision and dream and imagination. So he feels and again, let's be very clear, every penny, every cent spent on Asgardia up to date and still for quite some months to come is the investment by Dr. Shurbeli. Not a single person, not a single company, not a single entity has spent a penny on funding Asgardia. This is all funded from the resources of Dr. Shurbeli. So he feels responsible to see through Asgardia to the level where it is self-sustaining, where it's solid and running. And again, in best judgment, this will take up to 5 years. This is, again, rule of the thumb, best guess, common sense, world experience term. And indeed, he is intending, he said it already, and that's for a reason is defined in the constitution like that the first head of nation has his 5-year terms. Dr. Shurbeli has many visions and in many domains. It's totally unrelated to Asgardia, but I will tell you since you asked about Dr. Shurbeli. Yesterday, 18th of July, he was in Jerusalem reopening a courtyard at a Russian church, which was closed since 1917. So on the anniversary of the 100th year, in the past, in the 19th century, this was the pilgrimage place for people traveling through the Holy Lands. And he now funded the restoration. 30% of the profit of the holding by Dr. Shurbeli, Socium Holding, is going to charity. So one of the charitable causes which he is permanently funding is restoration of this courtyard, which helps cultural exchange and support of pilgrimage, and reinstallation of the Russian Orthodox Church in the Holy Land. So that's been yesterday in Jerusalem. You know all the news of Asgardia from asgardia.space website, but if you want to know more about other activities of Dr. Shurbeli, you can go to ashurbeli.ru. It's published in Russian, but with Chrome you can get the news translated. Chrome this day and age is doing a very good job, so you will get the gist of what he is doing. Structures of ministries, it's a little bit too premature to discuss. The titles of the ministries are published. These are the areas where they would be working. Accordingly, there should be parliamentarian committees on the given subjects, and beyond that, I will be just blubbing and fantasizing. It's not a useful discussion. How would people be transported to Asgardia space station? It's an outer space. I don't know the answer. Current technologies which take people to the space station located into low Earth orbit are the manned vehicles. There are 2 manned vehicles nowadays in the world which take people to space. This is the Russian Soyuz vehicle. It launches from Baikonur launch site in Kazakhstan. It's former USSR, so it was built in the Soviet times. And nowadays, Baikonur is under, I believe, 49-year lease by Russia from Kazakhstan, because basically the Russian space program, to a large extent, launches from there. And there is a manned launch in China. The manned vehicle is called Changzhou. I would not lie to you, I do not remember the name of the launch site, but Chinese also launch humans to space. So far, in what works today, there are vehicles which are man-rated. But there are a lot of ambitious projects in the world which are aiming to other human launch opportunities. I pay organizations which I support, and I'm almost broke. I would gladly pay some taxes to such noble cause. Christina, thank you. This is just the illustration of what I say. My experience of observing the mentality of people who want to be associated. If they can provide some little support, they do. And that's exactly what voluntary taxes are about. Food and water and space and how it can be created. Okay, guys, honestly, I can go on for hours talking about human spaceflight program. Rebecca is telling me that we have passed 1 hour. Again, it's up to you. Can you please, I'm only reading what Rebecca summarizes for me. I cannot otherwise see all the information which is coming through. I'm happy to go on. Maybe if you have some questions which are important for the current state of affairs in Asgardia, if you want to ask them, please post them right now so Rebecca can quickly read and summarize for me if there are some urgent current Asgardia questions we still need to address to be sure we're all on the same page. Yeah, so Rebecca is waiting for you to post Asgardia related questions. I love talking to you. It's really an honor for me that you take so much time and actively participate. But I also need to be sure that we have covered the areas of anxiety, let's say. And then if you say that you still want to talk about human spaceflight, I'm happy to talk. For me, this is very well my working hours. I work with Rebecca. I have some other colleagues who are in North America. So my midnight is in the middle of their working hours. I'm very well accustomed working around midnight. So I'm very happy. It's also good time for so many of you to be involved with us. How are you going to recruit a cybersecurity team? We are not particularly looking to recruit anybody at the moment. Like I'm saying, we today have the core team of our IT are made out of brilliant mathematicians and software engineers. And by building very slowly, but very solidly and steadily our platforms, ground platforms, space segment platforms, we are making sure that this is very strong foundation with very strong protection core. How are you going to have a space nation when you can't start a nation in space? Sorry, Kyle, I don't understand the question. Thank you very much for the answers about the taxes. I had doubts, I don't anymore. Christian, I'm glad it became clear. I know, again, when people communicate in writing, it's much more difficult to write clearly as opposed to speak clearly, not even because you do not take time to write, but rather because it's boring to read. Talking, sorry, I'm just, again, relaunching my other screen. Talking and interacting, it's more humane. I personally am very grateful that there is a chance to talk like this, even though it's in a way a monologue, but at least I feel that a lot of people are talking and interacting. Few people, I get a note from Facebook that people are sharing the video, and Facebook suggests that I tell you that I appreciate it. Yes, without Facebook recommending, I sure appreciate this. It's really, those are the rewarding moments to know that Asgardians care about what we're doing, and even though we make mistakes and we are not perfect, the community realizes that we do our promised. Emotional replies don't help to resolve logical issues. I fully agree with you, James. Seeming is being, that I don't understand. Meaning if we act irrational, we will be treated poorly. I would argue that, but it's not relevant for Asgardia. All I'm hoping for is we quickly correct before negative judgment becomes widespread. It is spreading, venting on correction of the election issue. I don't know, what do you consider? I'm answering to James Allen at the moment. I don't know, what do you consider needing correction on election issue? Maybe you joined us later. I have spoken in the beginning, but I will go through this again. That was the reason for today's meeting. Voting is counted the way when people go onto the page, which is highlighted as voting, every person who enters the page and spends there as little as 1 second and then leaves the page, and obviously that's a registered user who has the right to vote or has the right not to vote. When the person left the page without hitting any buttons, this person is counted as having voted no. The total number of people who have entered the page but of course once, one registered user is counted once, is going to be published after the 100,000th vote is achieved. So it will be a proportion between the number of people who counted yes against number of total visitors, unique visitors as registered users who have entered the page, and those who did not click yes, those are counted as having said no. That was just the setup which was programmed into the system, and that number will be published. Questions of human rights for augments and Asgardia. Many of us want to improve and evolve, be better ourselves. What are the limits? Robotic, cybernetic, genetic augments. Guys, it's a great topic for contemplation. It's a bit science fiction. It's in many ways futuristic. It has a great philosophical aspect. I would love to talk about it, but honestly, I have no answer. It's not a black and white situation. This is a great subject to contemplate. So if you want, like coming back to the question of regular broadcasts, we don't need to make casts about current affairs if there is nothing happened in the last week or two, and there will be periods like that. But if you want, for example, what we can do is to, if you want, I can moderate this. I actually worked as a TV host in my past life, so I'm actually enjoying one of my reincarnations doing these casts to the audience. So if you want, again, once in a while, I can volunteer myself to be a moderator of the community discussion on the general brainstorm subject: what does the future artificial intelligence mean for us? So all these questions about human rights versus robot rights and cybernetics, these are great questions. There is actually a number of TV series about androids being part of human life. I watched some of them recently and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It brings up brilliant questions. If you, again, discuss it in the post which Rebecca will make about the purpose of a regular or once in a while joint discussions. And I will do my best, and it will be a pleasure and an honor to be part of all of this together with the community. How do I volunteer for translating? Please write to Rebecca about this. All volunteering work is done through Civic Asgardia. Why the Constitution is so poor written? This is an opinion, Adrian. We have had feedback from the law professors who have supported Asgardia in writing the Constitution. It's been edited by a professional editor who is a managing editor of a legal journal, Aerospace Legal Journal. So thank you for sharing your opinion. It's just an opinion. Ashurbeli intends to step down as the head of state. Yes, that's already been discussed. Dr. Ashurbeli is going to see through that Asgardia reaches its solid status, and the common sense and the lifetime of experience suggests that this is happening in about 5 years. So Dr. Ashurbeli is going to be in service for 5 years. He has many other interests and plans, and he is not intending at the moment to serve beyond the first 5-year term. Structure of government and planning of the space, living structures. Guys, this is all a premature discussion. Today's meeting is about the current affairs. We're not going to now go into philosophical debate. Okay, I see that questions keep repeating themselves. I think we have covered great subjects for today. I thank you all very much for taking the time, staying with us for such a long period of time. Thank you very much, Rebecca, and the moderators who are looking and supporting this. So I will say thank you and goodbye, and we will be in touch as soon as you all together decide that it's time to talk on particular occasion, or if we start talking every now and then just to be in touch and to learn more together about human spaceflight. Bye.